Hey guys, welcome back to Three Bold Takes. And with the college football season less than a month away, I wanted to kind of hit in on the one topic that we've talked about will be maybe a negative with the 12 team playoff era, which is teams that are so good preseason that we think there's like no chance in a 12 team playoff era these teams are going to miss. Think like late 2010s Alabama and Clemson, where everyone was like, these guys are a shoe in for the 4 team playoffs. Okay, now you're getting where we're coming from for this list today of what we're kind of wanting to get after. And I'll go ahead. I don't see how Ohio State misses college football playoff 20. I don't think they're going to lose more than 2 games on the year. I could see them going out and losing to in Eugene, right? Maybe they slip up in the Penn State game, or they lose the Big Ten championship game. But I don't think they're going to lose more than twice. I think a 2-loss team of their caliber with their strength of schedule is definitely a lock in a 12-team playoff to get a bid in.
Well, hey, I mean, if college football 25 has taught us anything, 5 and 7 teams can make the playoffs. No, I'm kidding. But for real though, there is no shot. If Ohio State does not make the playoffs, you have to fire Ryan Day on the spot. Like, leave him in Indianapolis, where the Big Ten championship game is, and make him walk back. I mean, if he loses that game and that kicks him out of the playoffs, no way. Team for me, okay. I think. And this may be, at least in my eyes, I got Texas. I don't think they lost a whole lot, like enough to change a huge dynamic. I think Texas is such a big brand where I think they would get the benefit of the doubt going 9-3 with an SEC championship game appearance if it's close, and they would still make the playoffs.
I would say with that, Texas's schedule, yes, I agree with you there. However, choosing an SEC team here is extremely bold as a shoe-in because they're going to beat each other up all season long. But Texas's schedule, when I'm reminded of that, Texas has a lollipop, cupcake, Kevin Durant type schedule.
Forget about the schedule. The schedule's important. My thing with Texas is I could see them slipping up and losing like maybe 2 or 3 games in the year. And even though they're in the SEC, their strength of schedule is not going to be great because of the bulk of who they're playing.
Yeah,
and I think this year, strength of schedule could mean a whole heck of a lot. So what if, and now hear me out, I know this is going to sound crazy. What if they get beat by Georgia, they lose that game to Texas A&M at the end of the year, and then they slip up to a different SEC team you're not thinking of, or lose in the conference championship? I don't think it'll be Vanderbilt, Chase.
Okay.
Sorry to burst your bubble on that one, but maybe like Kentucky or Arkansas, who knows, But like, you get to that SEC title, you lose, you got 3-4 losses on your schedule, or 4, I don't think they're in it all. 3, there's going to be enough other 3-loss teams out there in the country that could definitely have an argument over Texas when it comes to strength of schedule. I think that's something to keep in. I don't think they're a lot. I think it's something to like keep in mind when it comes to just the fact that they're Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia. I think they can lose all 3 of those games.
Not a bad take. But when you're talking about teams lingering around that could jump, I always think of this team when it comes to the playoffs, and I can't believe it wasn't like your number one, because it was. As soon as I thought about it, as soon as I saw him, it's immediately my number one. I think a lot for the 2024, 25 college football playoffs, Notre Dame, easy. They always linger around in the back half of the top 10-ish. They have a decent record usually. Not great teams, they have a decent record, but they've always lingered around. Like when we had the 14 playoff, they're usually around 5 or 6, all the way up to 7 or 8. And if somebody loses, somebody drops out, bam, they're in there. I think they're easily a lock for a top 12 position at the end of the year with the a loss or 2 even. So I think it is just, that might be the easiest one. Ohio State, as long as Michigan doesn't jump up, Ohio State should be easy, but I think Notre Dame's right there at number 2 is an easy back half lock.
What I'll say about Notre Dame is I definitely think they should be an 11-1 or 12-0. Now, if they slip up and they drop a second game, we're having that same strength of schedule conversation. where how good is a 10-2 team with their particular strength of schedule.
Yeah.
See, I didn't want to be boring opening up the video with this team, but now we got to get this one off, like, out of the way. So I think Georgia's a lock. Like, I know Chase got on here the other week and started talking about how Georgia's going to lose like 9-3. And I was like, are you kidding? The team that has like consistently been a 12+ win team for the last like 3 or 4 years. I know they got a tough schedule.
Yeah.
They're going to win most of those games. Like, you look at it, they might lose 1 or 2 of them, but a 2-loss Georgia with that strength of schedule is getting into college football.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of that, Chase, especially the Notre Dame piece, simply because of their schedule, I'm going Penn State. And here's why because they only play one between the Michigan and Ohio State. They only play one of them.
They're going to lose.
They don't play both. Okay, that's 1 loss. 1 loss and you're in. That's how it is going forward. 1 loss and you are guaranteed in.
There's going to be better teams than Penn State in that. Well, Penn State won't make it.
I think Penn State.
Okay. It's just going to happen, dude.
How many seasons has James Franklin lost more than 3 games?
You know, Quinn, don't run that before I do.
So the odds of James Franklin losing enough to get out of the playoff, I think, are super low. I see Penn State as a 10-2, 11-1 type team, and that's like Freddie was saying, that's a lock for the college football playoff as well. Now, I can see the logic behind it, but I don't know if I would get on here and for sure say they're a lock because of one major reason. I like Oregon more than Penn State.
Come on.
So that's going to push Penn State back to the 3rd best team of the Big Ten. So then when you start getting into those hairs of are they better than the 3rd best team of the SEC or the 2nd best team of the Big 12, that could hurt Penn State long term, especially if you get a team like Notre Dame who does super well, because that's going to eat up one of those wild card spots, and another spot in the wild card is going to get eaten up by a group of 5 school. So you've just like shrunk that field down to 6 selections now, and Penn State's got to be one of those that could be a little worrisome for them.
Oh, you know, Chase, I was surprised you haven't said this one yet. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and I'm actually kind of hurt that you went Notre Dame instead of this team, and that's Utah.
I was actually, but that one's boring too. That one might be more boring than yours.
Is it though? I mean, have we seen Utah healthy for a full year in a while? No,
Also,
we haven't.
They're still 9-4.
Yeah, they're not making the playoffs 9-4. What?
Yeah, they're not. No, not out of the.
But for healthy, they're going to be 10-2, 11.
Unless they win the Big 12 at 9-4, and then they're in the playoffs.
Because they're going to be the number 1 team.
Freddie brings up a point though. If they're injured and they haven't been healthy for the last 2 years straight, at the top end of the Big 12, if we're talking about an injury-riddled Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, those games become a lot scarier. Even the middle road teams like a Texas Tech or an Arizona gets a lot scarier if they're an injury-riddled Utah than they would have prior been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Utah is actually the second one I was going to bring up, just because I honestly think they're a top 4 lock. I really do. That's how crazy I am about Utah. I think they're going to be healthy. I don't think it's
that bold.
I think they're going to be one of the 4 teams this year. And honestly, I have them more of a lock for the top 4 than I do any of the other powerhouses like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, whatever, because their schedule, their conference is going to be a ton easier than those guys. But one thing I'll ask you guys before we hop off here in a minute is, out of the top 12, I've kind of seen some with all the new alignment and everything. How many of those teams do you guys think are going to be from the Big Ten and SEC?
3 or 4 each.
I see 9 teams between the 2.
Oh, I don't think it'll be that high.
You don't think so?
No, I think it'll probably be between 5 and 7 every single year.
Yeah, I think it'll be 3 each.
3 each. Because I'm thinking you got Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, you guys are saying. We're thinking Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss potentially, LSU potentially is out there hanging out.
The
Oklahoma.
problem is not all of those teams are going to win enough to actually get in. They're all preseason projected 9-3s, but by the end of the year, a lot of those 9-3s are going to be 8-4s and 7-5s, and that's going to kick them out of the playoffs.
Well, now if you take a look at the SEC standings last year, right? So let's just take, obviously Texas and Oklahoma was not in the SEC, but the SEC standings last year, Georgia would have made it, Bama would have made it, Ole Miss would have made it. That'd have been 3. So then if you was to add in Texas, that'd have been 4. So, 3 or 4 could potentially be the number.
And you're also looking at Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. That would get that number up to 7.
Yeah.
But, I guess we'll see who the locks are going into 2024. We thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and look forward to you in the next video.